All right, welcome back. This is Automation Happy Hour, and I have a really awesome guest today. I'm super excited about. Lisa Block is with me today, and Lisa is the Chief Revenue Officer for Hybrid Manufacturing Technologies. She also is a gifted speaker, so I actually saw her speak at IMTS. She's an author, an entrepreneur, and has a really impressive background in leadership and in business. So I'm excited to have Lisa here. So welcome.
Thank you. Wow. I need an introduction like that all the time. I need you to announce me like everywhere I walk. Like Lisa Block is walking into the supermarket. Lisa Block
Yes,
is buying a new dress because
you
that
have
made
a
me
good name
feel
for it too. I feel like your name's
right.
like,
Lisa Block.
yeah,
I loved it. It was super awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the great introduction. That's pretty awesome.
yeah, thanks. We were able to talk briefly before this, but I'm really excited to kind of learn more about your life. Like I said before, I'd seen you at IMTS, and it was at
Yep.
the Women Make Manufacturing Move event, and just really you resonated a lot of things within me that I felt from a personal level as well as on a professional level that I think
Oh, that's
women
awesome.
in this industry, minorities in this industry can really learn a lot from your experience and things that you have to say. So
Yay.
love to
Thank
just get
you.
more about you too. So just on a personal level, like tell me about like your upbringing if you want. I mean, whatever you're willing to share, I'd love to learn about kind of
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you.
Whew, born and raised Southern California, in the South Coast Newport Beach area. Went to a school that was, I think I was one of six African Americans. And I say that to say one of the questions that I got at the end of Women Make Manufacturing Move was, how do I get over being the only one? Do you remember somebody asking me that in the
Yes.
Q&A? She was like, how do I get over being the only one? And my entire life has been only one. So I really didn't know any different. And so you're forced to pivot in those situations. And I was really fortunate that my mom just always told me, it doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't matter how they highlight your race. You need to understand that racism at its core is really just personal insecurity and people's fear of you. And so you need to walk in strength your entire life. Like that needs to be what you exude, because you're going to be in environments where you're not always welcome or where you're not always invited. So you shouldn't be looking to see who is in the room that looks like you. You should just be focusing on walking in that room with the strength, right, that I'm placing in you as your parent. And so I always have done that. And so I've never been intimidated when I walked in a room and never saw someone that looked like me.
I love that's I grew up the same way. So I'm adopted, so I don't know. I mean, that my parents are white,
Yeah.
and I grew up in a small town in Glen Ellen, a pretty affluent area. And me and my siblings were the only, and I'm biracial, but the
Yeah.
only black kids in my grade school. I met like the first black kids in junior high, so it was a
Yeah.
for me, I've never really felt different because it was what it was, and it never was anything that I thought about until people started bringing it up more, right? And so it's interesting when, we talk about inclusion and we talk about,
Yes.
uh, you know, where that comes from. I feel like it is learned and it's definitely um, something that not everybody, I guess I don't want to say it wrong. I don't want to misrepresent what I'm trying to say, but it's just not something that everybody goes through in the same capacity.
Oh, for sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I've discussed race more in the last 7 years than I have in all of my life. And I'm not going to tell you how long my life has been, but it's been pretty long. So all I'll say is, obviously, with our most recent election year and the controversy and George Floyd and all of these other situations that have really brought to the forefront some of the experiences of people, that are BIPOC and like, walking in this world with this skin and the disabilities or whatever it is that they have that makes them diverse.
Hmm.
Those circumstances have been highlighted in the last 7, 8 years at a level that have just been astounding. And so I think easily I'm discussing race far more now than I ever have before.
Yeah, it's new territory. I think for me,
Yeah.
having to explain, my situation and how I've been treated, or things that I never even thought about would be considered racist or offend somebody that I wasn't offended by at certain
Yes.
points of my life. That now I realize, oh wow, that actually is
Deeply
a
offensive.
little bit offensive. It's insensitive or offensive.
And both for
But I
you,
also
right? Because you have both. Because I have biracial siblings. I have two biracial
okay,
siblings, right? So and of my biracial siblings, I can definitely say that their experience is unique with each race. So they've experienced negative with each race, right? One race, the African American side of them, feels like they are somehow um, more fortunate, or they've never had difficulty because they are half white. And some people on the white side have kind of highlighted that they're African American. So it's like
mhm,
you're still not enough, or you're still. And let me be clear and clarify and state that my negative experiences as a Black woman in America are minimal. Are they there? Absolutely.
sure.
But I'm not one of those people walking down every day, the street every day, and somebody throwing tomatoes at me. That's not that kind of experience I've been in, because I was fortunate enough to be raised in an environment in California. We just don't tolerate it. You know what I mean? we
Sure.
just we just don't. It's a melting pot. Everyone and their mother in California has come from somewhere, transplanted there, and we were all just kind of mashed up together. So even if there were racial issues, we were forced to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were
That's
forced to deal with
awesome.
them. But my sister, one of my sisters who is biracial, I think her experience as a biracial woman is very unique, because she gravitates toward me. We're very close. So her desire to have more of my features or more of the melanin that I have in my skin um, is a challenge for her, right? So she feels like she has to, in some way, how do I convey? Because she could pass for either, right?
Sure.
If she doesn't flat iron her hair, then she can pass for biracial. But if she colors her hair blonde and wears it absolutely straight, she's got green eyes, she can pass for a white woman, and
Mm.
but does not want to, because
Oh.
now her yeah because she, in her upbringing, she was born in California, but she was raised in Texas. And in
Mm.
Texas, there may have been a time in her life where it were easier to identify as a white woman, and she always kicked up against that. So she didn't want to be identified as a white woman, right? She was one of the unique people that didn't say, I don't want to identify as a white woman. I don't want to identify as a Black woman. A lot of biracial people say, call me biracial, because it's the best of both worlds. It's both of them. Whereas
Mhm.
she wanted to be known as a Black woman. The government says if I have a drop of blood, I'm Black. That's what I am. You
Sure.
ask my brother is like the polar opposite of that. So he's like, I don't want to be white. I don't want to be Black. I am a biracial mixture of both. And consequently, when you're biracial, your appearance can be very diverse, even from each other. So where she looks like she would pass, my brother actually looks Hispanic.
Interesting. Yeah,
Um, yeah,
biracial. Well, I'm biased, but I think biracial babies are always the cutest.
yeah,
But I can kind of relate to both of them. I
yeah,
never really, growing up, I just was like, I'm just who I am. I don't want to be labeled as something. But
yes,
because my skin is dark, people still perceive me as black, or sometimes people just don't know if my hair is straight.
they
I've been asked,
ask, what are you?
what are you?
That's
Are you
that's the
from
most
India?
offensive question. Yeah, that's so offensive.
It's
And
so
that's a
offensive. It's so,
question, what do you mix with? What are
yeah.
you? Like, what am I? Like, human,
Human,
alive,
really.
breathing. Yeah,
I
exactly.
just
So,
never wanted it to be something, I grew up with some people that would say, because of the way that I look, because I'm black, I'm not going to get the opportunity to, get the best job if a white person is and for
yes.
me, I just haven't. I've been lucky enough not to have that be the case, and I would never accept that. I would never accept that I'm not going to get the job because my skin is black, because I'm just going to go into that job interview like I'm going to get that job. And I think there's a lot of value
Same.
in having a little bit of a, if you think you're not going to get the job because of something, then you probably won't. It's all about positive, you know,
Listen, you need to be convinced about you. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like I am blessed to say that I have always been afforded the opportunities I've been afforded because I was convinced about me. I was convinced about my ability to get the job done. Now, if you didn't want to benefit from all of the greatness that I've been gifted in, then that's between you and and your organization. I'll go out and I'll look for a job, and guess what? I'll apply for a job and someone will take me and I'll be given an opportunity and I'm going to be awesome. So I do not shy away from that, girl. Like I would be like, listen, I know I can get the job done. Now, if you are too insecure to allow me to get the job done for you, then that's fine. But even when I've walked into an environment, because let me just say, at least I want to say 70% of my career, I've been the only woman
Mm,
in a company. And that can be very limiting because you feel like there are doors that will not open for you because you're a woman. But I've been very blessed that I've always gone into a company in whatever position I was in and excelled from there and been given opportunities from there. Now, I'm not going to say that I was always paid equally because I wasn't.
sure.
But people know a workhorse when they see it. And then ultimately, you end up where you should be. But I think it begins with what you said. Like, I just always said, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm going to walk in the door. Even if they slam it in my face, it won't be
Mhm.
because I didn't walk in it, right?
Sure.
It'll be because they decided not to let me in, but I'm knocking and I'm walking in. And if they let me in a little bit, all I need is a little bit.
A
They
little
let
bit.
me in a little bit, I got this thing down.
Yeah, I don't think that you
Yeah.
command the room. I don't think that you would ever have trouble getting in the door. At least from
Hmm.
what I mean, you
Now,
yeah,
now, this is
now.
Lisa circa 2022. But Lisa, growing up, had to get to a place where she was okay. I've always been loud.
Mhm.
I've always had a very big voice. I've always been very opinionated. I've always been, I was the kid in like in ninth grade in an all white school going, why don't we have a BSU? Everyone has a BSU. Or, why aren't I on the debate team? Because I can debate. See, watch. I was always that person, and I feel like our girls are taught to diminish themselves, shrink back. Don't let anyone hear who you really are or see how you really feel. Don't let anyone, don't be noticed. Go out of your way to be as small as possible.
Mm,
And I just got to a point in my life where I was so unfulfilled and I was devastated over my career less than 12 years ago. Devastated because I felt completely unfulfilled. And then I had to ask myself, why do you feel that way? Knowing that your entire life is your responsibility. And it was because I did not show up fully in any environment I was in because I was afraid of other people being intimidated because I was always told that my light was intimidating to other people.
oh.
And I took that on very early, in I think the first time someone ever told me that, I was in like the seventh grade. So I started trying to shrink, and then I noticed something. I wasn't fulfilled. I was angry. And let me tell you something, if you think loneliness is difficult, try looking in the mirror and hating what you see.
Mm,
When you become your own enemy, that's a different kind of loneliness, because then it doesn't matter who's around. Nothing they do, nothing you have will fulfill you, right?
Yeah.
So I had to start a relationship with myself, and then I put myself on a fast track to do what I should do for myself. And it wasn't anyone else's fault. I had kind of intoxicated people into believing I was who they wanted me to be, instead of me loving myself enough to just say, if they don't like who I am, they're not my people. And it took me, listen, if you're listening to this and you're trying to fit in, you need to embrace the fact that you don't, because there
Mhm.
is somebody that's excited about someone like you coming along.
Sure.
So that was a journey for me, and it
What's the
completely
trigger?
changed.
What triggered you to realize, hey, I got to change something? I'm not
My
happy.
divorce. So
Okay.
I got a divorce, and the sad thing was I got a divorce. It was completely warranted, but I couldn't leave the majority of the blame with him, because I had told him that I was willing. And when I say I had told, I tell people all the time, you tell people how you really feel in your actions. I had
Mm.
shown him I was willing to lay down my entire life. I was willing to lay down all of my career goals. I didn't want anything but to be married to him. And I was okay settling for just a mediocre life. Life in mediocrity begins with you compromising yourself into a position where you no longer recognize yourself. And I
Mm.
just did not like who I saw in the mirror. I hated what I had settled for in my relationship. I hated what I had settled for in my career. And to be honest with you, I really thought, you're in your mid 30s, girl. Like, there's no way you can fix it now. You're too, and I've told my age, right? You're too, you're
You don't
too,
look it though.
thank you. you're,
You
you're
could be
too,
you could be like if I mean, I read your bio. That's the only reason
yes,
why I know you have more experience than I do, right? But you look
yes.
very young.
Thank you. Thank you. That's because this is all experience, okay? It's a whole lot of experience on the other side of this thing. I just want you to know. But I ultimately I got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I have a daughter. I don't want her going on this journey. I don't want her kind of acquiescing so that, she gets some kind of prize by a man calling her by his name. I was like, I want her to make choices that are best for her. And in my particular faith, you're validated by being married. If you're a married woman, like, God loves you extra, you know? So
Yep.
it was like a curse word, and let's be honest, I'm a fourth generation pastor's kid. So it was like, you're not going to be married?
Ooh.
You're getting a divorce? What? Like, do you know what that means? And so I was like, no, I'm not settling for this. I'm not okay with my life being defined by this. But at the same time, I have to woman up, put on my big girl pants, and acknowledge that the compromises I made those compromises. I made myself available for whatever I experienced. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I made myself available for that. I had opportunities when I could have done something else. And because I was so worried about people's opinions of me, I compromise. You shrink back and compromise when you try to be anything less than yourself at 100 proof. And before you know it, you've like compromised yourself into this position where you can no longer show up in the world fully. And the reason why that's a problem is if you're not showing up in the world fully, you're not contributing fully.
Mm.
So then you just become a consumer, right? You're like that person that comes to everybody's party and you sit at the table and you eat, but you never bring anything,
The
right?
worst.
That's what
The
life
worst.
is,
Yeah.
right? Life is a party, and you should not just be enjoying yourself, you should be bringing something to it. And I just had nothing. I was like, if I died tomorrow, what would people say about me outside of she was really nice? I don't want to just
Mm.
be really nice. I want to do something here. You know what I mean? And I was
Yeah.
upset. And so I just kind of put myself back on this path. I was like, go back to school, get focused, I was like, oh, I saw this girl's haircut. Oh, her hair is so cute. I wish I could cut my hair. I cut my hair all off. Just cut it off. Just lost my mind. Cut all my hair off. Wore it really short for a while. Colored it blonde. Did everything I wanted to do to find out who I was. Went to the movies by myself. Went on dates by myself. Went on trips by myself. I just needed to love me.
Yeah. And I
Then
think you have a daughter
I
to show her
do.
that, right?
Oh, and
That's
I needed to
so
show
powerful.
her the way I had decided to live was not okay. Because
Mhm.
we pass down more to our children by living amongst them than we do ever with our words, right? And I didn't want her to settle into that. So I was excited about loving Lisa again. And I was okay with making mistakes because I was in an environment where mistakes weren't always welcome.
Sure.
Perfection is expected. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to have a ball doing it. And I don't know how it's going to turn out. But what I do know is that whatever people say about me, they won't be able to say I didn't work hard and they won't be able to say that I did not try. And so that's what kind of put me back in this place. And then I just started writing down everything that I wanted. If you pray, whatever you do. And I just started constantly focusing on my goals and just knocking them down one at a time. And then before you know it, here I am talking to
There you
you.
are. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
cool. So, um, when you decided to make that change for yourself and you
yeah,
discovered who Lisa was,
yeah.
what was how did your career change? What was the kind of the
Ooh.
natural progression of that?
Well, I was an international business major and then decided, okay, well, let's be clear. The biggest catalyst for my change in my career initially, far before I got married, was my mother having a stroke and me becoming responsible for both of us.
Wow.
So it was like this. It was like you need to get a job now. You guys cannot pay bills now. So then I went to McDonald's. I worked there for like 2 weeks. I got my check. They took my uniform out of my check. My check was $11. I quit. I started typing and doing data entry at like a mortgage company at night as a 16-year-old because I could type really fast. And he was a small business owner. Of course, mortgage exploded after that, but he was a small business owner. And I started just doing data entry for him at night. And so then from 16 until my graduation, I was doing school in tandem where I was working at night and going to school and I was catching the bus and I was paying, the electric bill over here and the water bill over here and the gas bill over here. And then I was catching the bus to go home and getting on the bus and taking my mom to the to the doctor or the store because we didn't have a car. Like I've had responsibilities that an adult had since my childhood, right?
Wow.
So, but I always knew I wanted to specialize in mergers and acquisitions. I always wanted to be a corporate lawyer. So I was always kind of on that path to do something on an international level. And then when I got married, I married someone who wanted someone who would stay at home. And I had never been the stay at home type, but I figured I would try it. Then when my marriage didn't work, I was like, okay, well, we tried that.
You tried
Now
that.
let's see what can happen if I really just said, I'm just going to put my head down and I'm going to focus on my career. And yes, that meant no dating. I had 7 focused years where I was not even
Wow.
interested. Don't call me, don't text me. I'm not interested. And I just threw it all into my career. And that really served as my trajectory upward.
Wow. That's
I bumped into my job. I didn't I didn't necessarily know I was going to have it. I started from education and then I went from education to fashion and fashion to additive manufacturing. So,
I love it. I mean,
yeah.
this industry I fell into as well. So I was in, before pre-pandemic, I was in catering and hospitality,
Yeah.
and then no turning back though. This like manufacturing and automation, this is where it's at.
Oh, I
I mean,
love it.
fashion's
I
great, but
love
you
it.
can still be
And I'm
fashionable.
shocked to say that. I'm shocked to
Really?
be able to say it out loud. I love manufacturing. Yes, and you know what's funny? And I love the people. I love the big guy named Bubba that walks around the trade show and he works at a job shop. Nobody's gonna tell me what machine. I'll look at this machine, but I don't think there's any remedies there for me. I love him. I love all the support staff. I love the marketing people. I love the media. I love everything about manufacturing. I'm going to be honest with you. If you would have told me even 5 years ago that manufacturing was going to be something I had a love for, I would be like, okay, you're on crack. Like, it's not going to
Right.
happen. I love it. I love everything about it. And the people are just next level.
I
Amazing, amazing
agree.
people. And
I think
incredibly
industry is
gifted.
well, right. You get the whole spectrum of like super smart engineers and
Yes.
hardworking maintenance men and marketing professionals and salespeople. So it's you just get the gamut of everything, and I love that about it. And
Yes.
I agree. I think the people in general are really pleasant to be around. Going to
Yeah.
trade shows and going to manufacturing plants. I just think, I mean, maybe that's because I'm a woman. I think that helps too, because it is a male driven industry that is a men are typically, I think, a little nicer to a woman in that space. But I have had no complaints. I love it.
Yeah, I will say that. Some of my initial sales calls when I first was going out for hybrid, and it was the first time I had to go into a hardcore plant for something, right? You do lots of selling and
Mhm.
in periphery or whatever, but I had to go into the plant on the floor, walk through, look at the processes, all this good stuff. And I had my CTO over from the UK and my CEO, and the three of us were in the meeting. And they just would gravitate to talking to them, right? Because they were sitting there, and all of a sudden, and then when it came to the money conversation, they both said, well, you guys spent a good deal amount, of time talking to us, but you need to be talking to Lisa, and they really kind of gave me that platform for them to say it's okay to talk to her. Once I went through my first meeting
Mhm.
where it was like, don't shrink back. Talk to them the way you talk to us. Tell them what, and I started talking, and they were like, oh, okay, we can discuss this project with her, or she is willing to learn about our processes. And I tell them, I start the meeting with, I'm here to learn. I want to know how you make things, because if I know how you make things, I know whether or not what we do will complement that, and I'm excited about that. I'm all about that. That's all they have to hear. And I've
Right.
really been fortunate that everyone's like, okay, well, this is what we want to do.
People love to talk about what they want to talk about, right? Too. And I'm with
Yes.
you. Like, I'm not an expert. And I won't be an expert probably in the next, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? I don't know if I'll
Yeah.
ever be an expert, but I want to hear what the process is. And I want to hear how, you're currently doing it and see if we could provide a solution. So I think, you know, people respect that. And we have engineers that are super smart and can answer all the hard questions. So I don't necessarily have to know everything,
Yeah.
um,
And
which
let's
is
be clear. I have no desire to be an AM expert.
nice.
Okay. I love AM, and I have such a reverence for it that I'm excited about the people that we employ internally, explaining it well and doing it well. If you want to talk about residual stresses, and you want to talk about materials, and you want to talk about all that stuff, I can have conversation with you. But if
Sure.
it's going to be very deep and invasive, the people that are absolutely gifted in that area, they need to do that. And
Yep.
so I never came into this industry with an arrogance like I was going to walk out of here an AM expert. Never. These people have gone to school for years to gain
Mhm.
PhDs to learn AM. All I wanted to do was bring what I knew I was good at into an environment that needed each other, right? AM and business needed each other,
And will you
right?
explain what AM stands for, just in case?
Additive manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yes, or 3D printing. Like,
3D
a
print.
lot of people, and the reason why I say AM and business needed each other, because people, historically, CEOs have these wonderful, amazing ideas. Oh my gosh, I can make this, and this is what it'll do, and blah, 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 blah. Let's go into business. And they get all this money, and they have no business acumen,
Mm.
and they go out of business. Not because they didn't have a great idea, but because their execution lacked knowledge in that area. And I think sometimes when you're awesome in one area, you can allow your awesomeness in one area to give you an arrogance about every other area. But it takes a level of humility to say, I'm amazing at business. Business is my jam, but guess what? There are applications engineers. that are going to be able to give this far more attention than I can. And I want to connect you with them because I want you to have fast results and the best results. And those people are going to get you there. And I think you need to walk into every industry with humility for what the other person does. You and I kind of talked about that a little bit. I am not an applications engineer, so I'm not going to walk into a room and command the room talking about AM because I'm a chief revenue officer, because business is what I do well. And I can talk about business 24/7. But when it's time to talk about someone else's wheelhouse, it's okay for me to say that's someone else's wheelhouse, right? I
Hmm.
am great at what I do. They're amazing at what they do. And when we get together, thing of beauty, right?
Yes.
Thing of
Yeah.
beauty. So humility needs to reign, no matter what level you are in a company, because nobody does everything well. I can talk to CEOs right now that could not show you the inside of a PowerPoint presentation to save their lives,
But they have
right?
people that do the
They're
PowerPoint presentations for them,
and do
right?
them like a
Awesome.
master, right?
Mhm. I know.
You
I
know what
have
I
so
mean?
much respect for for our marketing strategist because she can put together I could put together a presentation fine, but she just makes it look so much nicer, and she's got all the
Yeah,
digital tools, and it yeah, that's it's so important. And we're a small
we need
company.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, we're a small company. I mean, there's 25, I think we'll have 30 people by the end of the year,
yeah,
but we
same.
have
We're small
very
too. Yep.
competent people in their positions that do an awesome job, and we're all super hard workers. It's cool to be a part of a team that has, you know, collectively everybody has the same goal, right? We're here to sell, we're here to create great products, and we're here to help our customers, and everybody works together and has their own role. And there's only two of us on the sales side, and then the rest of the balance of the team is pretty much engineers besides our marketing strategist. So it's, we have a whole group of people that can answer all the hard questions and design and create and program, and I get to just find these customers and these partners and bring them all together. So I love that you had said that, because I think that's super important to keep a perspective. Because for me,
Yeah,
in the industry, I want to know everything, but you just can't. There's just no way. I don't have enough brain space. I said that earlier too. Like, I
and
don't
you
have
don't
enough
have enough
brain space
time.
or time,
I
right,
don't have
to
enough
learn
time. Like,
everything.
yeah, I want, listen, I have made content and I think my content is beautiful. Okay. I love my content. I love, making little gifts and all that good stuff. I love that stuff, right? That's the marketing wheelhouse. And then you start hiring like marketing people and you go, wow,
Different.
I need to I need to step my game up a little bit because they're just 24/7 honing in on those skills, constantly seeing how it's developed. No industry stays the same. It evolves minute by minute. And you need people that are going to stay on top of
Mhm.
what the industry demands at that time. And these people are incredibly gifted in what they do and dedicated to staying on top of it all the time. And so the level of appreciation I have for them, for people that are constantly sharpening their skills, I do the same thing. I tell people all the time, like, there is no destination. We're constantly learning over here. I'm learning.
Mhm.
I told my boss today, I was talking to him about just experiences I've had with former bosses. And for me, a very large component of deciding whether or not I'll work for someone is if they have traits I can inherit. If they don't, I can't work for them because that person cannot grow me in any way,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
But if
Yeah.
I look at the boss and goes, wow, look at the way he does that. Look at the way she makes that decision. How do you do that? And they're forthcoming with information. They're excited and dedicated about your growth. You can respect them.
They're
Listen, I'll
accessible,
stay
I
all
think,
day.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I will stay all day because ultimately there's something mutually beneficial. I'm not just giving to you, but you're giving to me as well. And I think a lot of times people walk into the work environment and because they're being paid to be there, they really don't necessarily, I don't think they highlight or understand enough the magnitude of the decision they've made to work for someone else. Right?
Mhm.
You deciding to make for someone to work for someone else tells that person, I'm valuable to you and I'm excited about contributing here. And the boss in turn says, and you're valuable to me. And so I'm excited about contributing to you. And you're both constantly doing an exchange when you don't even understand that's what you're doing. Where you used to have opposition all the time, you both have grown to a place to appreciate each other's differences. And because of that, it grows the relationship. It constantly grows the relationship. And so you're constantly pouring into each other. So it's like a back and forth. And I think a lot of times people think I'm just a hired gun. I'm not a big person here. I don't really make a difference. Guess what? There would be no C suite if there were no support staff. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you talked to your boss today because I talked to my boss today
Yes.
in a similar way, just about I've been with the company for 9 months and or
Mm-hmm.
10 months, and I've never worked for a company who sees the potential in somebody and lets them grow and takes in their opinions and takes in their thoughts and wants you know is giving them the opportunity to really, like, the world is your oyster. You can go wherever you want in this company. They give you that
Yep.
opportunity. Some companies say that, oh, room for growth, but there's a difference between a company that says room for growth and a company that allows you to grow with them and
Yes.
gives you the foundation and the ability to do that. And
Yeah.
I am so grateful. Like I told him today, I'm like, I hope I never have to write a resume again because
Yes.
this company is so, like, the president of our company, I've learned so much from in 10 months. And he's also, I think, learned from me too, that, I came in here as an inside sales rep.
Yep.
And now I'm the channel partner manager, and we're talking about growth and what's the next steps and how can I learn and how can I, be more successful. Like
Yeah.
I've never had a boss that asks me what do you think you need or what can we do, continuing ed or mentorship or anything that to make me more successful in this company. And he even said, I don't want to be selfish. If you ever were to leave, I want to make sure that that's putting you in a good position as well. I,
Wow.
I it's pretty impressive.
Keep your boss
And
around.
yeah, I know. I'm like,
Keep your
that's why I said, I'm
boss.
like, I hope I never need to never need
Yes.
to write a resume again. But
That's so
I think
awesome.
it really harvests a good work culture when you feel
Yes.
that you're appreciated and that it's not just a job. I love coming to work, and
Yeah.
I've worked for companies in the past that you start dreading coming to work. You don't feel appreciated. They don't value your opinion. They
Yes.
don't value your
Yep.
work. Um, and I think you had talked about quiet quitting in the
Yeah.
women make manufacturing move, and
The
that
controversial statement. Everyone remembers that.
yes, but it means a lot because I come into a job and I work my ass off, part of my language, and no matter what it
Yeah.
is, I was a
Yeah.
banquet manager working, running weddings and booking weddings, making
Yeah.
$13 an hour.
Yeah.
$13 an hour. The dishwashers were making $13 an hour, and I was running weddings. And you know what? I did it for 2.5 years. I asked for more money. I didn't get more money, and I left because
Yeah.
I knew that I got everything that I needed from a learning perspective and for growth, and they would not value that. And I left,
And you knew
and
you gave your best.
yep,
That's
and
the
I gave my
thing.
best.
You gave your best because I think, I don't care what anyone says. Like at some point, you start to ask yourself, okay, so did they not see value in me because I just did just enough? Or, you know what I mean? Or was it that they just were like not willing to compensate me at the level that I deserved? And the thing that's funny about that is you take away one of those answers the minute you show up for work. It's like, no, 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 no. I was here, you know what I mean? I was the first one on the ground. I was the last one to leave, and I went hard the entire week. I tell people all the time, people are teasing me because at IMTS, I had very little time to like stop and hey, how you doing? Da, 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 because I was running somewhere. I was always going
Yeah,
somewhere. I was, if I wasn't doing an interview, I was speaking over here. If I wasn't speaking over there, I was going to support a friend over here. And I was always moving that week. And when all is said and done, if I would have come back to the office and my boss was like, "Well, I just wish that you would have done da 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 da," I'm like, Were you there? Do you see how hard I went for you that week? You don't recognize it? If something were to happen and we parted ways, it wouldn't be because I didn't give my best. And I tell people all the time, I'm not looking for Lisa's best. I know what Lisa's capable of. And so I'm going to work hard to do what Lisa's capable of. I want your best. And I want you to show me what your best is. You know, a lot of times we want people to give us the world. We want to give them a little bit. And then if we feel like it, we'll give our best. And what you're doing is giving people ammunition to tell other people in your same industry, listen to me when I
Yep.
say this, because I hear things about people in the industry, and it's, she just enough. She just came in, she did just enough. It was lackluster. I got a lot of promises during the hiring process. I never saw the fruits of that. And then she had the nerve to want a raise. And when I said no, she quit. And it's like, you don't look at every bit of what that looks like for you in the future. You deciding, I'm going to quiet quit, I'm going to do just enough. You become known as being the person that only does just enough. You're the clock watcher. I'm not telling you to kill yourself at work, okay? If you're
Yeah.
sick, be sick. Everybody gets sick, okay? It's a part of life. That's fine. Your kids need to be picked up from school. Pick up your kids. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you have made a decision to work for a company that no one held a gun to your head to work at. You
Nope.
made the decision to work there. And you walk in every day with disdain because you feel like you're in an environment where you're not seen, you're not appreciated, and you don't love yourself enough to say, I need to look for a job where I can be 100% myself. Because if I have a job where they're like, well, Lisa this and Lisa that, I've got 15 bosses that'll say, well, I don't know what Lisa you worked with,
Hmm.
but I'd hire her back. Because for me, with every exit interview, the last question I ask is, am I eligible for rehire? Because that's important to me.
Oh,
That's important to me. A lot of people do an exit interview and walk off. You don't think, am I eligible for rehire? When someone calls and checks my references, are they going to say that? And if
that's
they
I've
say
never asked that
no,
before. That's interesting.
but at the same time, I had dinner with a boss that I've had before last night. I've been to bar mitzvahs, I've been to baby showers, I've been to weddings, right? I have multiple bosses that I've had in my past. And out of all of my career, at least 80% of them keep in contact with me in some way, shape, or form because I believe that bridges matter and you
Yeah.
don't burn them because you don't
No.
know why you'll cross them. A lot of times people say, I'll never work for you again. That may be true, but you have no idea what context they may have that you may need. You have no idea why you will cross their paths again. And so just as a equitable person, a kind person, the kind of person that considers all sides of a thing, you should just want people to be able to say positive things about you. And so quiet quitting stops them from being able to do that, in my opinion.
I agree. No, I totally agree. And not
Yeah.
even quite quitting, people that just do the bare minimum, they hate their job, they complain about it, they do the bare minimum. Like it for me, it's so hard for me not to just say, why are you why are you settling? If this is how you feel, then why would you settle for that? Life is short, find something that makes you
Nothing
happy.
nothing boils my blood more than someone who has happened upon a position of influence, right? And then felt like that was an opportunity for them to relax.
Mm,
Oh, I just so happen to be somewhere where people are supposed to respect me. I don't actually have to do work to be here because it's disrespectful to everybody that does have to work hard to get where they are.
hmm.
It's nice that those doors were open for you, but I don't have the luxury of never having to deliver on my promises.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the people that actually value their word, because my mom used to tell me this one thing. Every time I got in trouble, she would
Hmm.
say, now, were you honest with me? Because all you have is your word. People can take away your money, your home, all of your clothes, but your reputation, they can't take that from you. Your word, they can't take that from you. All you have is your word. What is your word worth? And as
Mm.
a mother, I find myself saying that to my daughter sometimes, right?
Yeah, I
Because
like
it's
that.
true, but it's
Yeah.
true. I can't lose. my reputation. I can't lose my word. People can say whatever they want to say, they can post whatever they want to post. When it's all said and done and it's time to get the work done, the people that have worked with you, they'll make sure your reputation stretches far past somebody who just phoned it in.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's super powerful. I love that. Well, I don't want so we talked a little bit about additive manufacturing. I want to make sure we
Very
give
little,
you
right?
time, very little. I want to
Yeah.
make sure we give you time to talk about kind of what hybrid manufacturing technologies does,
Yes.
what is additive manufacturing, because I don't know, not everybody might know what that is.
Yeah.
And if we can maybe spend the rest of the time talking about that, I could chat with you forever. Like it's
Of course.
your life is insane and you have so many good. We'll have to get
Thank
dinner or drinks
you.
next time you're in
Yes.
Chicago.
Yes.
Well,
I'm back for Rapid. So whenever Rapid is, I
ooh,
should
what
know
is
that.
I don't.
May, I believe.
Oh, cool. Are you? Do you go to
A
like
mug.
automated
I'm
those?
I'm sorry.
Do you go to any of the A3 like automate or the forum, any of those events?
Send me the links on them and I'll
Yeah.
check them out. But I know that I'll be in A mug. I think A mug is in March. And then Rapid is in May.
Okay.
So
I
both
don't.
times they're in Chicago. Both are in Chicago. So
Well,
I
either
love
way, I'm
Chicago.
here. So even if I'm not at the
Yes.
show, we can make sure to connect.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Let's do dinner or something for sure. Yes. So hybrid manufacturing technologies in a nutshell, it solves problems, right? One of the best things that my bosses did was they saw a machinist and they wanted to solve a cardinal problem for machinists, which is essentially what happens if I put this big piece of metal inside the CNC environment and I start to do the subtractive portion of the process and I drill in the wrong place, right? Normally I would have to take that piece of metal out, chuck it out and start all over. Essentially hybrid has created an undo button. So if you you basically put the machine, put the metal into the machine, and if something were to happen and you were to make a mistake, you would easily be able to add that metal back and keep working on the same workpiece. And so essentially, what we've done is combine additive and subtractive in one solution. Additive, subtractive inspection. And in fact, I don't know if you can see it back there, but up there you'll see the subtractive mill, and then you'll see the dots for the depositing, and then you'll see the probe for inspection. So that's what our literal logo means: additive,
Oh,
subtractive, and inspection. Yep.
very cool. So we talked a little bit when we chatted earlier about kind of
Yeah.
what um, I guess maintenance people or techs on the manufacturing floor, how they perceive additive
Yeah.
manufacturing, and what kind of pushback or what are you hearing in the field that kind of that you can debunk for the listeners?
Well, I think one of the things that I run into with traditional manufacturing is their fear of implementation because they think that additive is in some way meant to eliminate jobs for them or additive is meant to replace them. And nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, additive is actually really supposed to make creating easier, right? For us, we shine in the area of repair and remanufacture, feature addition, things of that nature. So if you're a mold maker, you know that sometimes they drop hot glass down into this mold and over time it wears. If you had additive, you would be able to add it back up, you'd be able to machine it back and just continue using the same mold so it reduces waste. So it's really just meant to make you more efficient at what you do. And so I wish that I had more machinists that were aware of additive processes, more machinists that came to IMTS and shows, like IMTS, and really took the time to walk the additive pavilion to get to know the processes because it would greatly reduce some of the work they had to do. So the hours they're clocking, if they wanted to clock those hours, that was fine, but they would still increase the life and then their productivity by 13 times. So I tell them all the time, like, find an additive tool that works for you. And that's very important. A lot of people have gone to IMTS. So you have that guy on one side. I want to make sure I segregate the conversation. So you have
Right.
that guy on one side, the guy that says, I'm afraid for you to take my job. I don't want to implement additive tools. Then you have another guy on this side that's gung ho about additive. He's seen additive manufacturing or 3D printing on the news. They're 3D printing houses now, and he's super excited. So his first goal is to go to Rapid or go to IMTS and get an additive tool. And he doesn't do enough intel to figure out if the additive tool that he is selecting is indeed the right additive tool for him and for his process. That's so important. The best additive that you adopt is the one you will actually use. And so if you end up buying the wrong thing, then what do you have? $1 million paperweight sitting in the corner, right? Additive is very, very diverse. You'll see behind me, and I'll send you this PDF if you want me
Yeah,
to.
please.
This is the 7 families of additive. Hands down, this handout is the one that is requested the most. It's in scholarly articles, it's published online in multiple educational institutions, it's in textbooks. We provide it all the time. And the truth of the matter is it tells you the different types of additive, the contributions that they make, and what their processes are used for. And that's important because a lot of times people go into additive with the best of intentions and then realize, well, maybe I didn't need a tool that was that expensive. Or maybe I didn't need a tool that offered that. Maybe I only needed to segregate this. Maybe I really should have done this in a CNC environment. Maybe had I added this to a gantry, I would have been able to reuse some of my existing equipment, right? So you have all of these options available to you. And a lot of times people give additive a black eye or they give additive a bad name when the truth of the matter is, no offense meant to anyone listening, is that they didn't do enough intel to find out if they were adopting the right bit of additive. And I'm happy to say that we are very different in that it's very much a hand holding situation. So you buy an additive tool, you come to us. We have some clients who have been coming to us and meeting with us and talking about materials and talking about processes who have not bought anything for years just because we're happy to educate you on the right additive because I need you to use it. If you're going to buy it, I need you to use it because once you use it, you'll tell someone else to use it
Sure.
because you'll see how it works, right? On the flip side, sometimes I go through exploration and we're not the best process for it. We're often confused for powder bed. It's very, very precise. It's very, very versatile. And there is a specific niche for powder bed machines. Laser metal deposition, which is where our flagship product is, right? And powder bed are very different. But because both use powder and both use a laser, they're often confused for each other. And the price point for both are pretty different. For a powder bed machine, you're going to start $1 million. For a laser metal deposition machine, you might start at $250,000. That's
Okay.
important to know. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it really just depends on what your process is. I tell everybody all the time, start with the application, start with the materials, and then start taking some concerted time with the applications engineer to walk you through the process so that you know what the best tool is for you. Because the best tool in anything, whether it's additive, whether it's traditional manufacturing, whether it's the treadmill, is what
Mhm.
you're going to actually do, what you're actually going to use. Okay. So I tell people all the time, get a tool that you'll actually use and don't just train one person because the minute they have a certain amount of knowledge, that makes them valuable to someone else. If they
Mhm.
get poached, nobody else knows what to do. And so then you've lost all that knowledge that you've invested in. Don't just
Mhm.
get one person, right? And make sure you have the right tool for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I had never heard of additive manufacturing, to be honest, before we talked. So
Yeah.
please send me PDF
I'll send
because
it to you. Yeah.
love to look at it. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has been
Yes. You're
really
so welcome.
fun, and yeah, let's try to connect at a trade show. And if there's
Yes.
anything else you want to share, where hybrid manufacturing will be in the coming months.
Yeah.
Feel free to plug it right now, or if you want to just send
Yeah.
it, I can put it on there as well.
Yes, well, I would love for everyone to connect with me on Instagram. I'm at LDB underscore N3D. Feel free to connect with me there, connect with me on my LinkedIn, connect with Hybrid on our LinkedIn. We want you to follow the page because there's so many great things going on and we're super excited about it. One thing that has happened for us that I did not mention, and I want to make sure I mention it, is that we've recently gained investment from Nikon. So Nikon has invested in hybrid and along with SLM and Morph 3D. We're all one big happy family now. And so we're really super excited about that. So you'll be seeing far more of us. I'm speaking on a panel at Rapid. Come and say hello. Come and shake my hand. Super excited about that. And going to AMUG and a host of other trade shows. Emo if you go to Germany. So you can
Oh
always catch me
wow.
somewhere. Yeah, let me know.
Yeah,
come,
you're
come
the
and say
traveler.
hi.
And when I
Yes.
get to the, I was actually just in California 2 weeks ago. I should have sent you a
You
message.
know what?
It was
I
a
was in
crazy
Frankfurt.
week, but oh, you were okay.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was at oh my gosh, can I not remember? Form Next.
Oh,
That's what happens. They all start running together. I was at Form Next a couple weeks ago, but yeah, and it was an awesome show. It was my
was it
first
good?
Form Next. Yes, it was my first one. It was really
Where was
awesome.
that? The Frankfurt. You said
Frankfurt,
Frankfurt.
yeah, Germany.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Lisa, again,
Yes.
thank you. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to see you again soon. And,
Yes.
I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. Let me know if I can ever do anything in the future. Have a wonderful one.
You too.